Bilal goes on to say, I have been taught by previous teachers in Maliki fiqh that the teacher is required to teach the Mashhur opinions. I heard recently from a person knowledgeable in the Madhab that this is a matter of disagreement, and they later stated it is not required to teach or learn from the Mashhur opinions. Right. So I mean, so yeah. So it is clearly is a matter of disagreement, you know. But traditionally, all the schools have encouraged the students the scholars to give fatwa only according to the Mashhur or the Muftahbih, or we call the Mu'tamad as well. And so that's been the custom in Islamic history. But there's always been what we call the Mashhur and the Rajih. So there's another opinion that says, you know, you can give the opinion of the Mashhur and the Rajih, or the opinion that has more evidence that goes along with it, or to support it. And so it is a matter of disagreement, you know. So the foundation should be the Mashhur. You see, definitely the Mashhur is the foundation, but you also learn the Rajih in the Madhab. And so when a person gets fatwa, it usually should be the Mashhur or the Rajih. But in spite of that, there are always other opinions in the school, and so usually you shouldn't, the Ammi or the layperson should not abandon either the Mashhur or the Rajih unless there is a scholar who actually has been able to explain the reasons why those particular views should not be supported or should be abandoned. You see, you know, so if you feel, then if you allow your conscience to determine if you're going to go beyond that, but generally you should stick to Mashhur or the Rajih until it becomes almost impossible to do so, and then there are other opinions that do exist. The important thing is that when we do take a different view, that is not simply based upon, okay, well, I don't, I like it, you know, that it goes better with my sort of lust, and so once we do that, then you're actually not following any opinion other than simply your lust. So that's my opinion on the matter. My opinion on the matter is that, well, actually it's not my opinion, but my opinion on the matter is that we do as much as we can, you know, that we try to follow the Mashhur of the school as much as we can. But, you know, life in the world today would not allow for us to follow the Mashhur and everything, because one of my sheikhs, you know, actually is of the view, he used to say, and this is actually traditional as well, classical opinion, that he said that you have to follow the Maliki, the Mashhur in every single issue, not just in Salat, and Zakah, or in fasting, or in Hajj, yeah, even in your business transactions, you got to follow everything, you know. And so, but how easy is that to do? I mean, you come in living in a Western country, or even living in a Muslim country today. How easy is that to do for you to demand that you transact according to the Maliki school and everything that you do? You see, when the governments usually establish certain regulations and criteria themselves for business transactions, you know, so nobody is completely classical or traditional in that sense, whereas we're able to, or we actually are following the Mashhur opinion in everything that we do. No, we can possibly do. You know, but just think about Jummah. I give this example of people. Okay, people in America, we pray Jummah, Salat Jummah. You know, but if you're going to apply classical criteria for it, you know, Jummah is not valid. You know, but I'm not going to tell people that it's not valid, because I don't believe that Jummah is not valid. I believe Jummah is valid, and because it's a long-established a tradition in the Western Hemisphere. Muslims who came here decades ago and established Jummah, they've been doing it for a long time, and almost every Muslim that I know believes that Jummah is an obligation for one to carry out. You know, and so and I don't believe that some legal technicality is enough to simply invalidate that. Especially taking into consideration of the great interest or the benefit that comes from people coming together at least once a week to hear the Book of Allah, the Book of Allah taught. You know, and so because if you are Hanafi and you say, well, Jummah is not valid because simply you get the Sultan, there's no Sultan to establish it. You know, if you go beyond that, all the schools talk about the Jummah having to be carried out in the central masjid. You know, so we don't have that in most cases, you know, so Jummah will be invalidated because of that. You know, some of them say, okay, well, if it's not a central masjid, you know, it also has to be in one single masjid, you know, so you can't have Jummah being performed in multiple places. You see, and so that would invalidate Jumu'ah as well. Then you add that to that, you know, the classical opinions is that Jumu'ah has to be done in all Arabic, you know, and even if the people in the audience can't understand, you know, so that would invalidate Jumu'ah as well in most cases, you see, you know, and so even though some people have developed the practice of you know, they do an English talk first and then they do the Arabic khutbah afterwards, but that in itself is a bid'ah. That's an innovation. That's an innovation in the worship. You know, that wasn't done by the Prophet ﷺ, nor the Sahaba or the Tabi'een. You know, so that would be an innovation. You know, so I know you try to accommodate that, but often people place so much focus on the Jumu'ah being conducted in Arabic language, but the place where they're conducting Jumu'ah is not in the masjid, it's in a hall, or it's in a place that we call a masjid, but actually it's not an ownerless or waqf, you know, because the masjid has a certain description as well. You see, you know, it's built from the ground up. It has to have the appearance of a masjid. Has to have some scholars say the 5 prayers have to be performed in the place where you're performing the Jumu'ah. So that totally validates all of the MSA Jumu'ahs in the country. You know, you have, you know, I mean, so you really just can't. It just, you know, once we're in a different age now. We live in modernity. There's more cultural exchange, intercultural exchange today. It's almost impossible for us to be completely traditional. You know, only way for us to be completely traditional is for us to go back in time, and we can't do that because we live in an amount of age, and all of us have been affected by modernity in one way or another. You know, and so we can act and fake as if we're classical and traditional all we want to, and anything, but our actions will show otherwise because there's so many different things. We got credit cards. I mean, come on, it's you know. I mean, in the Maldives, we can have a credit card technically because, like, there's a contract that if you're late on a payment, that you have to pay interest on it. You know, you can't even sign a contract just by the fact that the stipulation is there. If you agree with it, that invalidates the contract. You see, and so, but you know, you have a contract. But the Hanafis, of course, validated, but the Maliki's said no, it couldn't be invalidated. There's so many different issues that exist that would problematize or make life difficult for everyone if we were to try to be completely classical or traditional, you know, other than if we want to go to that one village in Mauritania, if we like to, you know, not trying to, not, you know, meaning any with all deference, you know, I'm not speaking in trying to put it down, but I'm just saying that, you know, if you want to live in a sort of an old-fashioned or traditional society, then go ahead and try to implement those type of things, you see. And in societies of old, when there was no internet, there was no mass communication, it was a lot easier, and this is actually the better way for people to scholars to standardize the culture and the judgments and the courts for them to adopt one single school. You know, it made life easier for people in society, and particularly it made life easier for the governors. So they themselves adopted usually one single school to rule a particular part of the country. And they would give fatwa according to the Mashhur and the Madhab, you see. You know, but once you start having what we have today, when you have clashes of ideologies, and people have to negotiate now, you know, and once you start negotiating, then that's going to mean that you're going to start sacrificing certain things and certain principles, you know, or you're going to be forced to do so. Otherwise, you're just simply going to be viewed as just some crazy person, you know, who's trying to live in the past or trying to recreate a past that no longer exists.